I guess let's start with the beginning. 4 years ago I moved here. In March will be 4 years. And I was living out of a van. I was, I just have a high school degree. And the first couple of years after high school, I spent a lot of time hitchhiking around the country and figuring out life, I guess. And when I came into this town, it was because I ran out of money. And when I ran out of money, I would just get a quick construction job, work for 2 weeks, and kind of drift again. I guess I was trying to find, my place in life or something, So, but I met a bunch of great people here that it made me want to stay here at least a couple months. And around the country, in other cities, I would see an Earn a Bike program, which is a really great solution to transportation, because our transportation system in the country is really terrible. And what's worse is the city infrastructure has been built really poorly to not accommodate transportation well. And it's very automotive driven. And now it's just became a huge mess, So we saw 40 bikes on Craigslist, like this bundle. Some crazy Japanese couple down in Chelsea was selling it. And I called them up and I said, I want these bikes. And we figured out a way to get them. And we started up this very small Earn a Bike program in a warehouse. And for about a whole year, it was just like this kind of weekend thing, right, on Saturdays. And there's really no set rules. We just wanted to find a way for guys to be able to obtain a bike who didn't have money. And we tried to kind of set some sort of policies, come just spend some time with us, or, a couple days and help out in the shop, and then we'll just give you a free bike, It's pretty straightforward. And it seemed like a simple concept. And it is, really. It really is. But there's a whole bunch of, we got a whole bunch of problems, in our community, our social setting, that can be solved pretty easily. And I think the main reason why they aren't solved is because they don't make profit, right? And then therefore you have nonprofits, I guess, once you think about it. But after about a year, my construction work ended. I got fired, basically. And I had like $500 in my pocket, and rent was due in 2 weeks. But I felt this strong intuition to try and do this shop. And the theory was very straightforward. You basically open up a bike shop. So we're going to open up a bike shop. And Birmingham downtown Birmingham didn't have a bike shop, which was really good for this model. And a bike shop in general can just be good for the city, Especially, there's this concept of running a business, but only charging just fair wages, not trying to make as much money as you possibly can. And I feel like that in itself is very noble, and a good thing to do. I wish more businesses would do that. But we were going to open up this bike shop, and it was pretty straightforward to do repairs for the public, and it would have bike sales, both new and used. Used is better. Used bikes is better. And that would come from donations. So we're going to put Don for donations. And then, we'd also do parts and accessories and merchandise and stuff like that. It'd be pretty straightforward. And then our nonprofit programs that we would host would be, we're going to use all acronyms, okay? So I hope you guys can remember everything. But we were going to do our Earn a Bike program. That was our most important. And it's a basic structure. They come in, at that time we just said come in for 1 day, 8 hours, hang out, and we're going to give you a free bike, And then we had what we call SSR, because I thought it was cool. Because, the SSR is like when you're a badass, basically, and you have to pay for the really expensive insurance, right? You guys know what I'm talking about? Like Tokyo Drift, car racing and stuff. It's really cool. But it's sliding scale repairs, basically. If you don't got money, just tell us how much you can pay and give us that. And if you can't pay anything, then it's okay. Here's your free bike, And then a public workstation, that was really big. You can come in and work on your bike for free. We have all the tools. We'll help you, we'll be your best friend, stuff like that. And the fourth is, what's the fourth? Mechanics classes. So education, definitely. This is the big time because our main goal is for people to have a bike, let's say have a bicycle and sustain that bicycle, okay? And we wanted to target this. We can get you a bike or fix your bike without any money if needed, and we can sustain you using that bike without any money if needed, And so this is a great split, really. Hybrid business nonprofit models are awesome because to host this program and to run a bike shop, you need a mechanic and you need tools and you need employees and you need wholesale dealers and you need licenses and you need to pay rent, right? So to lump those expenses together, it helps a lot. And eventually we came up with a system where the bike shop brings in 75%. The percentage goes after the number, right? Okay. Of the total money that we need, right? And then the other 25% is the hard part, the fundraising. But this is awesome. This is awesome that we can do this because most nonprofits fundraise 100%, And most nonprofits also, they fundraise the money and then they go do the programming or the service, which is okay, I guess. But I find it lacking passion for sure. What we did was before we had the money, we started doing the services. And that's why we almost went bankrupt for 2 years. So I understand why they do it that way. But we felt like this was a really simple solution. And part of it is that there's like tons and tons of bikes unused, right? Everybody could list off a couple people they know that have a dusty bike sitting in their garage. And for us to just tap into that resource and then repurpose that, re-put it to use, it's a really great solution. So not only are we doing charitable services, but we're also, recycling, repurposing bikes. And not only are bikes an amazing alternative transportation resource, but it's also incredibly healthy, right? It's incredibly healthy. And there's all sorts of statistics surrounding the benefits of cycling, both physically and mentally. And the statistics that by giving somebody a bike that depends on public transit, it just like completely transforms their life. It's a really beautiful thing. So, we decided we were going to do this. But I want to like touch on a personal level why. Not just explain to you guys a cool model, right? Like how this started. And if you guys decide that you want to, follow the social entrepreneur route and you come up with an idea, how does that develop? Like in your head. And I guess people are going to find different ways. I'm just going to explain how I felt like I did it. And it started with, I didn't love bikes. I didn't even know how to fix bikes. When we first bought the 40 bikes, I was just like, oh my God, what did I do, I was so confused even with just like the different size tires. There's like 100 different types of tires you can buy for 100 different types of bikes. And bikes spreading from 1950 to 2015, there's like 3,000 different types of bikes with different size wheels and different cables and different parts. And it was insane. It was just absolutely insane. So, but, at the time I just knew that nobody else was doing it, like nobody else. And I can do it, I can figure it out. I can learn this. So I just started, very slowly. And there's at least 10 times where I was done with it. I was like, oh, I'm done. And then I'd be like, all right, I'll keep going just a little bit longer, another month, and something kind of magical would always happen. And I would talk to people over the years, those people that did kind of step in at that right moment, that right week when I was about to give up, and they would help just a little bit, you know. They'd help me fix bikes just a little bit, or they would, sometimes they'd even just buy me lunch and tell me an hour, hey, like, it's cool what you're doing. And I would ask them why they did that. And they said the number one thing is because they just saw, like, my persistence. I just kept going. And I realized over the years that even if you have a bad idea, as long as you just keep going, it will evolve into something good, basically. And, which is pretty hilarious. So, but, well, let's jump back. After a year when I got fired, right? I called up my uncle in Canada, who I see like once every 4 years. And I said that I wanted to start up a nonprofit bike shop, and I need $3,000. I swear if you give me $3,000, I'll be good for the rest of my life. Which was incredibly inaccurate. That was gone in a month, you know. First month's rent and the security deposit just like ate that up. And then I was like completely 100% convinced that, you know, I'm gonna do this. Most people like have a plan and they gain the funds and then they open. I was like, no, I'm going to open and show Birmingham like, hey, this is like so cool. And then after 3 months, we're gonna have this big fundraiser, you know? And everybody's gonna be like, wow, you showed us over these 3 months that this is so amazing. Here's all this money so you can fund it. And so we came up with a brilliant, brilliant fundraising idea. We were going to tall bike joust. So we decided we were going to get on these and joust each other with like couch cushions taped to the end of PVC pipes. And, you know, it's gonna be awesome. And we did it at Good People, you know, it was cool, it was a big shout. And I was thinking, you know, I felt like, you know, if I could fundraise 20,000, that was gonna be good, you know, it was gonna be good. And at the end of the event, we raised $2,700, which is absolutely terrible. And then the two people helping me, you know, at that time that I was like throwing like $100 to, I think they were living off $100 a week. You know, and their parents were paying their cell phone and, you know, their car insurance and stuff, and they were eating bologna sandwiches. That's the tall bike joust. Isn't that beautiful? God, look at that right in the face, huh? And the hat's even like spinning off. Wow. Okay, sorry, I'm getting distracted. So what happened then? What happened was, this was the biggest moment probably in Redemptive Cycles and probably in my life. You know, to do social entrepreneurship, you gotta have a lot of faith in humanity, okay? You really bank on the good conscience of others, right? God. And you have so many people also that will come and they're so excited about what you do. And then you're like, hey, can you help me for a half hour? And they're like, oh, I gotta go, I'm sorry, you know? You know, when you open up like a nonprofit little thing like that, the first people that actually show up are the people who need help, you know? So we weren't doing any business, but all the homeless guys were still coming in and they needed me to fix their stuff for free. And I was just like, oh man, you know, what am I gonna do? Like, I can't do this, you know? So finally in January, I was really, really beat up, you know, I was really broken. And I had kind of two guys that kind of stayed in my life and really helped. One was this old fat guy named Uncle Mark with white hair. He was awesome. And he would come in and he would just like, every time he'd see me, he'd start tearing up. And he was just like so worried about me, and he would come help out all the time. And he would like go buy bikes at thrift stores and fix them up and then give it to me to try and like sell, to keep it going. And I called the landlord and I said I can't pay rent, you know, and all this, and they let it slide a couple months. The thing that really changed in me was I completely stopped caring about, I guess, normal priorities people have, about keeping the business open, you know, and about sustaining myself and being able to pay rent. And so what that kind of looked like was when homeless guys would come in, or even when like young college kids would come in and they just wanted to hang out because they thought the shop was cool. Normally after a little bit, I would say like, hey, I mean, you either need to stay and help me work on stuff or you need to go, or I can't stand here and talk with you for 20 minutes, or you and your buddies need to get off the couch inside of the shop, you know? And I eventually just kind of let all that happen, despite the consequence. I kind of just let community happen inside of the shop, and I would talk with people, you know, as long as they wanted to talk. I would let, one scary thing is, I mean, there's certain homeless guys that you're working with that are really sketchy, right? They probably did crack the day before, you know, and that's just what it is. But I'll just take the time, I would help them anyway, you know? And I would give free bikes out anyway, you know, I just did all that. And I thought it was gonna close. So I really regressed back in myself, and I said, you know, well, what do I want to do? What do I want to do just on a basic action, despite the money, you know, and despite this place closing down? And I just said, you know, I want to continue to build relationships with people. I want to be a friend to people, especially people who don't have friends, you know, like these guys on the streets. And I want to house community, and I want to give away free stuff, you know. I want to consider other people's needs as important as my own needs, right? So every single time I would engage one of these people, and you know, they got a flat they need to fix and they have no money. And I would say, well, I would hate to walk away from the shop and have to walk 2 miles home, so here's a free tube and let me put it in for you, you know? It was just a very simple concept of just being kind to people and valuing them as equals. So that started to happen. Well, I'd say I was doing that on a level beforehand, but this is when I got really bold into doing it, you know, very boldly. And then over a couple months of like survival, a lot of people began to come around and want to volunteer and want to be around. And I got more and more into this kind of social community ideal as well. And it was based upon, like I'll see a lot of bicycle co-ops that are very unapproachable because of this elitist mentality, you know? And a lot of large communities or groups, like a lot of churches you go to or any organization you might, there's like cliques, and it can be scary. And you'll run into a lot of people that are craving healthy social engagement, you know? So I said, well, I want to create this more than anything. And the people that would come into the shop, we tried to build this atmosphere that they were immediately welcome, and they could stay in the shop as long as they want, and they could come there every day, you know, and hang out all day long in the shop. And we were going to be their, you know, I was going to be their friend. I'm interested in them, you know, and I'm going to enjoy their company. And it was simply put straight like that. There's no alternative motives. I'm not trying to meet numbers. I'm also not trying to feel some sort of inner religious fulfillment, even though I am a Christian, you know. I just made sure that there's no alternative motives at all. I'm just enjoying him, you know. And that was incredibly powerful. And people immediately started to draw to the atmosphere of the shop. And this is very, very, very important with no matter what you do, is creating a good atmosphere. Because no matter what project you're doing, people will come. You know, most people that have been involved with Redemptive Cycles over the past couple of years didn't care at all about bikes when they first showed up. And the bicycle is just like our common platform, you know? But everybody is truly interested in the community and the social engagement and what we can get between two people. And so if we push this back to us fulfilling these services for the low income and the homeless and these guys coming from the missions, lots and lots of people in poverty deal with really poor relationships that they have in their life. You know, they have really poor relationships. Their friends or their family or whoever's around them isn't emotionally supportive or has a lot of conditions set upon their relationship with them. And so they don't receive just a lot of warmness and acceptance and genuine kindness and honesty, I guess. You know, these homeless guys also, if they piss me off, I just tell them immediately, you know? Or if I want them to leave, I'll just tell them immediately. And they appreciate that honesty, you know, just being genuine, not having to worry about second guessing you or having to read you or have these built up fears that you aren't being honest with them. You know, if you can be genuinely kind and honest and just say, hey man, hang out, what's up, you know, come on in. But if you're gonna hang, I need you to fix this flat here, and hand it to them, right? And they're just like, oh, this is cool, you know? And you can also get people to do a lot of free work too, you know? When you simply just say, hey, will you fix this? Thanks, you know? And then walk over here and start talking to them. And they're like, oh crap, I'm doing this, okay. But we began to push that. We began to push it hard. And the shop barely survived for like months and months. The first week of every month when the bills would drop, we always had to take $500 out of the credit line or $1,000 and pay off the bills, and within 5 days, I'd pay that back. And so every single month, it was just like barely enough. And probably until this very point, actually, I've always pushed our resources to the absolute limit. And one of the reasons why I did that, and the only reason why I can ever convince my board to let me do that, is because I'm on a default compensation contract where I get paid last. So the money that the shop makes to pay off all its bills and to pay off its payroll, and currently there's 3 employees, rent, utilities, whatever, cost of goods sold, all that stuff. We probably need now $9,000 a month minimum to cover all those costs, minimum. I get paid last, so everything else gets paid, and if we don't have enough money, default compensation, baby. They hit that trigger. And Ryan signed up for that too. Ryan's like my right-hand man. He's the shop manager. But yeah, you know, I want to live life, and I don't really care about money. And you probably shouldn't care too much about money if you're going to be a nonprofit. And that's why it's called nonprofit, you know? It's very, very silly how, I mean, there's huge nonprofit CEOs in this world that make like $1 million, and that's unbelievable to me. But there's a lot of power in not caring too much about money and simplifying your life and living simply. You can do a lot of amazing things. There's like this building, abandoned building, it was open, and homeless guys and stuff, they would go in and out all day long. And women would go in and out, and you know, they were doing very bad things in there, obviously. And so we said, you know, let's clean this up, but nobody wants to clean it up. So I would just start cleaning it up, me and a couple of the guys that believed in basically the way that I lived life, the way that we wanted to live life. And so, you know, we buy all the own paint, and we dig around in dumpsters and find materials to use to build stuff, and we boarded it up, and we painted all these murals. And it's like a really, really terrible spot in town, you know? There's 2 homeless shelters within 2 blocks of where we're at. And there's like guys going through the alleys in like old school Cadillacs, like all day long, like selling drugs, and there's all this really terrible stuff happening. And over the past couple of years, we've just completely transformed it. And this is like part of, this is like the building we kind of boarded up, and this is part of the murals, but they stretch down. It was funny, 5 months ago, we had like a married couple in their like gown before pre-wedding photos, right? They showed up in the back alley. They were taking photos of them. And like, if you go down to the end of the alley, look at that's my dog's butt right there. That's pretty funny. Down at the end of the alley, there's like 5 homeless dudes like sitting on buckets, you know, like just chilling. And they're like out here taking wedding photos. And I was so proud. You know? Okay, so a big thing about community though is that we started the group ride, the trample. And I started to just come up with a couple kind of rules. I said, there's not gonna be any cliques, and everybody's gonna talk to each other, you know? So I'd always do that. If people were always, there's like 5 people over in the corner kind of just like talking, I would always go break it up. You know, and when new people would come, I would go up and say, hey, did you say hi to, you know, Charles over there or something yet, you know? And so after like months and months, everybody would they'd start saying all this stuff we'd hear. Like, they'd start saying like, this is so much different from whatever I've experienced, I immediately feel at home. I immediately feel welcome. I feel like people are happy that I'm here just because, for no reason. They aren't trying to win me over for any alternative motive. And it became so powerful, so emotional to people. And we also really needed that, right? Because I wanted the shop to keep going, so these people were also coming in and volunteering. And it was like this beautiful scene, like every day. If you come into the shop during the summer, which our guys want you to do this year, it's pretty amazing because you don't know who's an employee. There's like 25 people in the shop, and you don't know who's an employee or who's the mechanic or who's who. And everybody's just there, and some people are working. A strange person's going to help you come up and ask if you need to sell a bike. And they're just like a volunteer, And they probably didn't even sign in. They're probably just hanging out, talking to somebody, and they see somebody walk in, and it's like truly community, It's just amazing. And it's frightening to a lot of people. It's frightening because people take advantage, right? We all are aware of that. I believe that idea drives a huge part of our political system, the business world, the social world, is us trying to prevent people taking advantage of other people or of other organizations. And that is a very tricky concept, definitely. And we kind of went out on a limb, We set ourselves up so people could take advantage of us really easily if they wanted to. And that was based upon two things. One, it's hard to set yourself up to where people can't take advantage of you. That's really difficult. And so it just seemed like kind of a waste of time to do it too much. I wasn't going to put too much of my resources or my energy into protecting myself. Mainly because I was poor in resources at that time, right? I'm like a startup nonprofit. And everybody that's in it, I just hope to God that they're good people and they'll help volunteer because I need help so badly. And the other thing was, we set ourselves up to be kind of without blame, I guess. We were trying everything in our power to do good, basically. And I think so many people saw that and then therefore would not want to take advantage of us, There's all the time wonderful volunteers would come in, and I would want to give them stuff for free because they put in so many hours. And they'd always say like, no, we're going to pay for it. And we would our repairs are so much cheaper than any other bike shop in town. But people would say, whoa, no, here's an extra 20, please take it. And so it became kind of this beautiful idea. It's like, you can charge a normal price of $60, for a repair. And the person, your customer, is going to be like, oh, 60 is kind of a lot, but here, I understand, And you're going to be kind of happy, but not really, and they're going to be kind of happy, but not really, okay? Or you can be like, well, normally I get charged $60, but I'm only going to charge you $30. And they're like, oh my God, that's so amazing. That's so amazing. Listen, you guys are doing such a great thing. Take the 60 anyway. And you end up with the same amount. The same exact thing happened, but they are super stoked and you're super stoked, okay? Boom, baby. That doesn't always happen, but when it does happen, yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing when it happens. Then once you get into nonprofits, there's all this businessy stuff. I also want to share another little secret I was talking with Charles about earlier. This might not be flowing in a linear way, but it's just valuable, for you guys to have. There's a lot of services that you can really do yourself very quickly. You can teach yourself very quickly, like getting business licenses, like applying for a 501c3, doing your accounting, okay, doing legal work, doing taxes. It's actually not as difficult as we assume it to be in the upfront, right? And I know this because I did it, right? I did it all. And it's because I didn't have any money. I didn't have another option. So I was forced into it, but I was scared to death to do it at first. So I want to push you guys too. If you guys start getting into this stuff, do not pay like a lawyer $1,000 to go get your 3 business licenses, you know, because you can literally walk into the courthouse and go up to the lady and say, hey, I'm trying to open up a bike shop, and they'll go, oh, fill out this paper and give me $60, you know, and then it's like, oh, cool, you know, and then you just leave. It's like really simple, you know, and it's just like, wow, mind blowing. That was so easy. And it's, you know, I want to hit on believing in your capability, right? A lot of things we're very capable of doing, but we literally just don't try, you know? Or we don't say it, or we don't speak it. A year ago, there was, so I'm really into welding, okay? Let's take one step back. What I'm really into doing, we're going to take 2 steps back. What I'm really, really into doing is confounding the wise, like sticking it to the man, okay? I love being rebelliously virtuous, okay? And if the government system ever became really pure, I'd be worried about myself becoming a criminal. But thank God, you know, we got a lot of issues, so then I kind of look like this Robin Hood guy right now. But so what I like to do is I love taking things that most people are like throwing out as trash, and I take it and I build this amazing stuff, right? One of the things I wanted to do, just as like a joke to stick it to the man, was, you know, when the salvage art that you see in thrift stores, right? You know, it's quite funny because they pull that stuff out of the trash, and then they build it, and then they sell it to, like, you know, old ladies in Mountain Brook or something. And so I was like, well, let's just cut out the whole process, and I'll just go straight to them and say, hey, I'm going to take out of your trash and in your front yard, build stuff, and give you your trash, and then you give me money, you know? I thought it was like awesome, right? And it's sentimental because it's theirs, you know? It's perfect. So I like doing stuff like that, and that's kind of the whole Redemptive Cycles theme, right? To redeem. The word deem means to, you know, perceive it with a certain amount of value. So if we're going to redeem it, we want to take this resource or this person or this bicycle, and even though common culture says it's at a very low value, it's very useless, we're going to say, well, no, we don't think so. It's actually a lot more valuable, and we're going to show you why. We're going to use it. We're going to use it to such an extent that you wish you had it, right? But originally, you threw it out or you assumed that it was trash, right? Or something. And it's really awesome. It's really awesome. So if you come into the back alley, you'll see all sorts of stuff welded up. We got this like 20-foot tall windmill made all out of bike frames. We make most things out of bicycle parts, I guess, because they're on hand, right? But even everything else, everything we build is just like scrap stuff, stuff we got for free. But what I'm saying is, like, get out and do things, you know? Get out and do things. And it can be scary because we're worried about getting tired, you know? Definitely, we're worried about getting tired. But if you get tired, just stop, you know, and then just go out and do it again, or do more stuff. And I don't know, what am I trying to say? I feel like I need to be conclusive, right?
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
So on the bike program, how many bikes have y'all given away?
200 to adults, yeah. That's pretty good, right? Yeah. You know, it's difficult because you got to spend a whole day with these guys, you know? A lot of times they don't have anything for them to do.
It's not just the bike, is it?
No.
Bike helmets?
Yeah, now they get helmet lock, lights, yep, and a best friend. We signed every one of them a new best friend. But yeah. Huh? Chia? Shout outs to Chia. No, I got to tell you about the compound. So a year and a half later, I was out back and I was smoking a cigarette because I smoke cigarettes. It's not good, but don't do it. So, and I was talking to this guy that owns this warehouse next door that was just like completely gutted, and I made a joke with him and I said, you know, I'll take this whole warehouse for $1,000 a month. Yeah, you know, and which was like more than half price of the market. But I told him I was going to fix it up and what we do, and he liked everything. He finally, and he said, okay. And I was just like scared to death because I just realized like, I don't want this building, you know? But then I went home that night and I felt a really churning, like intuitive feeling like, this is opportunity here to make a change. And it's gonna be hard, but you know, I gotta do it, you know? I'm in love with seeing change in a community. I'm in love with seeing life and vibrance, you know, and people feeling excited. And I take every opportunity to do that. And so I felt like this warehouse is right, it literally is building connects to the shop. And the bike shop definitely can't afford it, so a couple of us guys are gonna have to move in to pay for the rent. And we're gonna have to build out the whole thing actually. And luckily, my construction background, I can build a house, you know, which is cool. So the day after our second annual tall bike joust, we literally lived off of pizza and high life, me and 8 homeless guys for a month and a half, and remodeled this warehouse and built a kitchen, built bathrooms, built everything, and a workshop, and you know, moved in. And the whole back area was, this is going to be a huge community center, basically. And we're going to let the community use it for free. We're going to do yoga classes, do benefit dinners, do events, do whatever. And really just continue to churn and cultivate community, you know? And community is amazing. Connecting people and resources and allowing them to help each other out is very powerful. So now, after 4 years, I don't really know how this happened, but you know, I came in with 50 bucks in my pocket knowing nobody in this town. And now it's like, we have a bike shop and murals and this property and hundreds of people. You know, at any given day, I can get on Facebook and just say, hey guys, I need like firewood. You know, like we did that a couple days ago, and somebody called and had a truck delivered by that afternoon. Like very powerful stuff, you know, the ability to create a very powerful impact. And everybody has the capability to do this, you know, you guys all do.